All right, I want to welcome everyone who's tuning in to Mvskoke Vision. We're kind of launching a completely new format based on our old press briefing that we were doing each week, but we're kind of restructuring it into a more interactive, broader scope of topics. And joining us today to kind of christen the program is Dr. Monty Randall, who is the new Mvskoke Creek Nation Secretary of Education and Training. And he's going to kind of come on today and kind of help us field questions about the new virtual education program funding that's out there and the application process, and get everybody some really great information for getting those kids back to school and all those kind of needs. I kind of revamped our landing page and everything a little bit. So those who are tuning in, it's just like the format of the old press briefing that we were doing, but we'll be bringing different topics and different, types of information, but it will be live and interactive. That way folks can kind of ask their questions. I'm not seeing us live yet, Jared, but I think we're going. Yeah, we've been technically difficultied up, so maybe that's just a par for the course. Okay, so I think that the best way to start it is to welcome Dr. Randall aboard and tell us about your last few weeks getting acclimated as Secretary of Education and Training. How's things going? You're getting your feet wet.
Hey, yes, I appreciate the opportunity to come on and be live and visit with citizens. So I appreciate this opportunity. So I've been here in education and training for probably a little over a month now.
I didn't think we were. Okay. Sometimes we have these troubles, especially on the launch when it's anything new. But I'm so glad you're able to help us get the new thing started here. Yeah, I'm showing 3 are waiting on it to go live, so I guess we've got some viewers interested.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity.
Has it been
talk about?
Yeah, we'll kind of just
coming in and
start off with your first month on the job maybe, and then we'll kind of dive into that program a little bit. We're going to try to share the links to the applications so that folks can kind of get on there and apply. I know it's kind of like the rush and back to school time, so we'll try to make it as connective as possible for folks who are kind of trying to beat the clock and get their kids all situated. And then kind of maybe just talk about the qualifications, how it's funded. I think it's funded through COVID relief, isn't it? Okay. I just showed my res talk there with my init. We've even had this happen before where we didn't have the bandwidth to get live, so sometimes it's like a little bit of a gamble, but usually it works pretty good. Okay. Gonna have to. Uh-oh. Just when you start to depend on the technology. Oh, like back when I couldn't see the link and we had to redo it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I see the live wire going now. Yes. We've got people watching, so. So with all the technical difficulties, we're coming back and then re-explaining. We're going to re-intro. Okay, I'm Angel Ellis with Mvskoke Media reporter, and I'm going to be joining you with, hey, I'm glad people are tuning in. I'm seeing them commenting now. I've got Dr. Monty Randall, who is the Secretary of Education and Training. He is on Zoom with me today, and he's going to tell us about his first month as Secretary of Education and Training, and he's going to walk us through a little bit of the new program for virtual education support. For those of you who are tuning in and wondering what's going on, we've had the technical difficulties, of course, but we're also kind of revamping our program. We used to do a weekly press briefing, and now we're going to kind of try to bring you some live interactive information where you can ask questions and interact with our interviewees just like we do. So welcome aboard, Dr. Randall. Thanks for being so patient and hanging with us through all this, craziness here. But just tell us about how it's been going for you in your first month as Secretary of Education and Training. Sorry.
Hey everyone, Monty Randall, so the new Secretary of Education and Training. So I've been here probably a little over a month, and my first couple of days were spent just trying to get to know everybody, trying to get to know the programs, and of course we're in the middle of COVID. We were working full staff, but then I think we quickly went back to the rotating schedules. And then during that time, I was also visiting with people here in the building, the different programs that are here in the education and training building. Then I spent some time traveling to the off-site location. So I went to visited our Head Start, which is here on the complex, but then not in the same building. The Eufaula dorms, vocational rehabilitation, reintegration program. So the UT language program. So I spent some time visiting the different programs that were off-site. So that took me some time also, and just kind of getting acquainted with the staff and the different programs. So that's what took the majority of my first couple of weeks within, of course, just regular business along with COVID, the COVID response, legislation, meeting with some council members, meeting with constituents, of course, receiving a lot of phone calls from citizens and answering questions. And then, of course, that was probably the first couple of weeks or so. And then the McGirt decision came out. So this really, I don't know what a normal transition into this position would be like. So I can't really give you that from that perspective, but from the perspective that we've been experiencing in the last, months, this has been exciting, frustrating, just the whole host of emotions I've seen. But one of the good things as I kind of transition into this virtual learning support was, the teamwork, the amount of teamwork that exists within education and training, within just the different programs, that are in this office, and seeing the dedication of our employees, of our staff to continually to work to improve their working conditions, and then faced with this challenge of getting this virtual learning support program running was just incredible.
It has been just an incredible year so far. I've kind of forgotten what normal days looked like, to be honest. We bounced around the office, and all through the summer, we were like, this is supposed to be our like slow season where we're really scrounging to find news stories, and it has not ever let up, not even one little bit. We're already getting some really good questions in our chat here. One of our regulars who views is asking if there's any impact that the McGirt ruling would have on um, the Title V and JOM programs, those different programs and how they're administered going forward. Have you guys been able to sit and kind of analyze that kind of impact yet so far?
We've been discussing it, and I think there's going to be very little impact. Of course, this is, other than, you know, the great opportunity that we have to really, really take the lead on Indian education. I feel like this is the great opportunity that we've been looking for. You know, we've wanted partnerships this whole time with our state institutions, and I feel like there's been a lot of great work. Those are some of the things that I've been gathering the information, and a lot of great work has already been taking place within education and training, through the different programs. So I think there's already been a foundation, and there's already been a lot of work that's been built up on that. So I think if anything, this elevates the level of opportunity that we have to further solidify and strengthen our partnerships with the schools, with public schools.
Definitely. It has been, while it's been a little bit of a whirlwind, I think, for the justice system to sort out. I feel like in almost a kind of, internal visibility kind of for Indian country to have this kind of ruling has really set the pace for, all these different programs that are reaching out for partnerships in many, many aspects of our, daily lives, from, law enforcement to education. Now here is this extra kind of affirmation that we're here, and this is, Muskogee Creek Indian country, and we're here to work with everyone. So I wanted to kind of dive into the virtual learning support program, and its purpose and what it does and how it's going to help out, who's going to be eligible, qualified, and what it's intended to do.
So let me just talk a little bit about the process that got us there, because
Okay.
I think, again, and that's what I was alluding to earlier. When I first came on, within the first couple of weeks, I within that first week, I met with all the managers, and I brought this up, and told them, hey, this is what we're working on right now. I think right at that point, the income relief had come out, and so that was sort of the focus of the human services area that we're under in regard to this CARES package. So, all of this kind of was under that human services portion of it. So that income relief came out first, and and so I was probably 1 or 2 weeks in this role, and so we met with the managers, and I kind of gave them the heads up, and of course that budget came out with the virtual learning support earmarked with the funding. So we knew that was coming, and it was delegated to us to basically create what that program was going to look like. So we had several working sessions via Zoom with the different managers and several of the employees who work in the systems regularly. So we created the workflow process. We created the application. We went through several different steps to finalize that application. We all reviewed it several times. We created a policy, and then sort of that fact sheet that came out, that was a part of it too. So we had, like I said, employment and training, JOM, higher education, education administration, language. I had them on board with it as well, to kind of keep us keep us focused on, on our overall mission and goals of the tribe, just to kind of keep us grounded. And hey, we work for the Mvskoke Creek Nation, and the culture and language is always a big part of what we're doing here. So, that was part of the process to get us to this virtual learning support. And so we knew the majority of it was going to be a direct support to citizens. And that's where we came, just looking at the budget process, so there's actually going to be two other components that we're going to roll out of it, two other aspects of this virtual learning support, which is going to be community support. So we're, and that's primarily the chartered communities within the Mvskoke Creek Nation Reservation, to help to assist them and maybe outfit them with some, with the technology, the hardware, and even software for that matter too. And then academic support, virtual academic support. So we really got three major pieces of it, and then a fourth one, just contingency, and if there's anything else that we may need to look at or address.
I just linked up the fact sheet for anybody who's out there following along, and it talks about some of the frequently asked questions with the virtual support program.
And that is primarily for that direct support that I talked about. So this is in relation specifically for that $850 payment that will be issued to individual students or the parents of students.
Okay, and so each student who is it just citizens of the Mvskoke Creek Nation?
Yeah, eligibility is Mvskoke Creek citizenship, and then you have to be an enrolled student.
Okay, and I've just kind of been communicating back and forth with my children's school, because they are going completely online for the first 9 weeks. So we contacted like the offices and they send out like a letter with the school seal that show that the student is enrolled, and then that gets turned in with the application. And it says that the allowance is for $850 per eligible citizen. And that, can you kind of go over what kind of things that can be used for?
Yeah, we're really keeping it open on a lot of the allowable expense items. So just anything that's going to support virtual learning. And so, some of the questions too were, hey, I'm sending my kids back in class. Do they still qualify? And the answer is yes. Again, eligibility as an enrolled student. So while we're looking to help out those students that are continuing online or virtual, but we're also planning ahead just in case, that schools may need to go virtual again, whether it be,
Later
end of the month or, end of the school year, whatever it is. So, the allowable expenses, laptop or a tablet or a printer, scanner, flash drives, could be speakers or a monitor, headphones, microphone. I think just about any, printer paper. I think just about anything that's going to set up your student kind of in-home classroom, so to speak.
I think that like some of the students at my school have been using like school issued like Chromebooks and things like that. And it seems like even the schools have kind of like been in communication with the tribe and know that this grant is out there. Like they kind of reached out to me first and said, here's your app, or here's your verification that you're going to need, because we have identified your kids are JOM, and so we know that they have this support available. So it looks like they're kind of trying to reserve the school issue Chromebooks for the students who may not have any other resources, and then collaborating with the tribe to get the tribal citizen students connected to those resources. And I noticed that it even kind of mentions that you can do the Wi-Fi hotspot. So if I'm having to for the first time, maybe obtain that service in my home in order to provide the education, that could go towards that.
And so we're asking for, so upon completion of the expenditure of your funds, then we're requesting the receipts. So in that case, your monthly bill or your Wi-Fi or cellular bill. And so right now, our guidance on the CARES funding is that it all has to be spent by the end of the year, and all of our receipts have to be in by the end of the year. And we can't pay for future services. So Wi-Fi and the cellular bills will just be for this fall.
Right. So if they're planning to use it in that way, put
Right.
it towards these most immediate bills now and get those verifications in. I see. I see. I have another question that's coming up in the chat here. They're asking that there's seems to be like many students who are possibly enrolling in like charter schools right now and online schools that may not have Indian Ed programs. And is there anything that education and training is kind of looking at to help in that area? I think that, let's see. But it says that like Epic had an Indian Ed program, and it would be likely to be one of the top 3 largest in the state because there's like so many kids that are going that.
That's a great question. We'll look into that for sure. I was actually on a town hall meeting last Thursday with the Oklahoma Council for Indian Education and the Illuminative Project. So they were doing a virtual town hall, and they were discussing some of the needs that were coming up. And one of the final questions did talk about that. It was brought up by a college student, and so they were talking about the retention efforts and as colleges and universities, particularly they were talking about the different organizations. But I think it also relates to public schools as well. But getting Native students involved in the community and the activities, to keep them on campus and around the resources, but also keeping them connected with other students and faculty and staff members, Native American faculty and staff members, to keep them engaged and involved in the community, and the campus resources. And so as we moved to virtual, that was his question was, what is there, what's available for us as sort of that very important piece of our school life is being taken, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
or replaced, or, however you look at it through the virtual learning. But that's a great question. And, I'll definitely look into that, and I'll get you some information back on that. And
Okay, wonderful.
bring
I
that
know
up.
earlier in the year, I think it was pretty much kind of at the beginning of our COVID wave, when we were first just kind of talking about it, I got to talk with Miss Price a little bit about the e-learning program and stuff, because we were kind of like, all right, the kids are home early this summer and how to keep them busy. And so she was kind of giving me some like links and resources about the online, it's Mvskoke Creek. It's a 5 tribe specific kind of curriculum that had been worked on, and that was really great and handy to kind of keep the kids really busy during the summer, just when they're kind of going outside their minds a little bit. But nothing kind of replaces that like one-on-one kind of mentorship you do find with like JOM and the activities and stuff. That's kind of hard to do during COVID. One of the other questions that they're asking about is, will the Mvskoke Creek Nation continue to operate the JOM with JOM parent committees now that the res boundaries have been reaffirmed under McGirt?
Yes, we're still continuing with the JOM programs and the parent committees now. How those operate, again, those are up to the individual schools and their, if there is a JOM coordinator, that kind of staff member, and then again the parent committees themselves. But you'll have to follow your local guidelines on how your school is operating if they're able to host meetings. But there's still, I know our JOM staff have sat in on some virtual meetings over the summer and during this time. So I know they've been on a couple that were just developed, and on a couple of officer election meetings and different things like that. So yeah, just check with your local schools, and we'll continue.
So it seems like that kind of structure seems to still be kind of the method of function. Another one says that when Secretary Randall was running for office, he had a really high priority on our language. And what are your thoughts, and how will you help perpetuate the language with your new role?
So that's a great question. I appreciate that question. So I've been visiting with our language program on and off, I would say quite a bit, and visiting with the instructors and kind of seeing where their ideas were. And I've been looking at some different ideas as well. I visited with Chief Hill and Second Chief Beaver early on whenever I came on board. And so just to kind of reaffirm that, this is a priority of Chief Hill as well, and so the language. And so as I talked with our language program, getting some ideas for that, of course, some of the main things that came out were, a master apprentice program. And so we're looking at developing that into some different proposals. So there will be some things coming out. I think our strong suit is going to be that face-to-face, interaction with our language. Hopefully we can utilize this virtual learning program that we have right now. So that's kind of what I talked about, was that second portion of community support with our Mvskoke Creek or with the chartered communities, to outfit them with, sort of the virtual learning technology support. So, webcams and speakers and things like that. So that way we can maybe broadcast, different language courses, and not just to pinpoint, the chartered communities, but this could be something as well, for our at-large citizens as well, who could tap into this broadcast or Zoom meeting, or, this same type of live YouTube channel that we're doing right now. So to have some sort of interaction, some sort of distance learning with our language. So those are just some of the ideas. I've got a couple other ideas that I would love to share. I'm working on some things right now, and I still need to get approval and develop it out further. But I'm definitely excited about this opportunity with working with our language program and really developing our language program and getting it out there. And I would say look for something along that lines of that master apprentice type program, if you're familiar with that, it's about really just direct communication between somebody who's a fluent speaker and somebody who's learning. So just really that's probably one of the better ways to teach the language, to learn the language.
Yeah, definitely. I know my kids were really picking it up very young when they were in Head Start, and some of those teachers were fluent speakers, because it seems like, I don't know if there's just like a natural kind of draw for like our elders to be helping take care of the kids, because it always seemed like that. And my kids would be coming home and I'd be like, where did you learn that? And it would be like, oh, Miss Cat taught me that,
Yeah.
So it was very, very, very good to have that kind of interaction. We've got some comments. I'll just read them to you because we have some pretty diligent fans. So T.Y. Prohl has suggested that Mvskoke Media and the Mvskoke Creek Nation Education and Language Departments work together to produce an animated content for our children, like the show the Cherokees have recently announced. Please, that sounds like they're going to put us to work and try to get something like that.
I've talked with the language program again. Brandon in the language program. He's doing some great work with just the use of technology, just the videos we've talked about. So if you follow the Facebook page, that has different lessons
Yeah.
twice a week. We're looking at expanding those and creating videos, and just kind of getting into different scenarios really, and kind of almost putting it sort of in that master apprentice frame, so that way you can kind of see, or see and hear the language, and you can hear the language and you can speak the language, but for native learners, to actually put something visualization with it, that just expands our learning and our capabilities of it. So
There's
look for something along that lines in the
yeah.
future. We've got that living languages grant that's actually coming up in the HEW committee tomorrow. So that's, we're looking to submit a grant proposal for that, and we're
Awesome.
expecting that A&A grant anytime soon. So a lot of great opportunities coming.
I love how successful like Glenpool schools and like one of our commenters is mentioning the Muskogee language secondary program like Glenpool has. And if we had that in every district inside the reservation boundaries at a minimum, and how successful that could be, because it seems like you get, I know how my like family is. We're like that hardcore competitive. So if you can put it into like a competitive environment or something, we're gonna like pick it up real fast and try to like, oh, you didn't catch on, something like that. Different fun things. I wanted to kind of, before we got too far in, I just wanted to ask one more thing about the virtual education program. Is there any time frame, other than we're trying to get kids back in school now? So I'm assuming that people are kind of applying right now, but what if they're kind of what's the latest they can apply?
So we put the deadline at December 1st, and so, or until the funds run out. So we put that deadline December 1st, and then final receipts by December 31st. Right. So that's the last. So we figured, and we've had some questions on that, is that enough time from December 1st to December 31st for somebody to get approved and then get their check and get it spent and get get their receipts back in? So my suggestion is apply now. Apply now. You're available for, you're available to, as long as you're enrolled, as long as you can prove enrollment, in school, then you're eligible. So
Awesome.
apply early, get your application in,
and that is eligible for students between pre-K through 12, vocational, technical, post-secondary, graduate school, and other.
Yeah, just about, those are just examples. Those are some of the main, primary examples that we could give. But, we've had questions on GED students. Mm-hmm. So yes, if you can prove enrollment that you're in school, and, that, because we know that, there's a lot of other opportunities out there, besides the public schools and, or secondary schools and college and technical. So if you can prove enrollment, then you're eligible, because again, we understand what we're facing in this day and age, in terms of the COVID relief. So,
and it looks like if you were to apply today, it might take about 2 to 3 weeks. Is that what
we're moving pretty quick right now. Okay. That was just kind of a general timeline. The rate we're moving now, it's within about a week.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, so we're
awesome.
Again, employment and training, JOM, higher ed staff, they are processing those payments. I was looking over a statement last night, and I saw where people were being approved on Sunday. So we had staff members who are working over the weekends.
They're just getting it done.
And yeah, just thousands of applications, and so we're moving through them, and we understand the need, we understand the urgency of this. So
awesome.
Definitely.
All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us live. I know live is not always everyone's cup of tea. There's so many comments and questions, you never know what you're going to get. But I appreciate it so very much. And congratulations on your new role. And we're excited to see everything that comes out of education and training. And just give us a shout if we can ever help out or help connect you to the audience who might need some information about any new programs. All right, Mado.